Joe Rogan recently went on his podcast to call out the former VP. I guess Kamala can kiss 2028 goodbye as she's still getting exposed after losing to President Trump. Joe Rogan has also confirmed that he has the receipts to prove his claims, meaning that the Harris team is probably going to stay silent on this one. And to make matters even worse, the DNC is crumbling as Democrats are raging against their own party. Now, guys, I covered this in a previous video where left-wing protesters are forcibly removed from the recent DNC debate. Be sure to check that one out. You cannot miss that one. It was hilarious. These folks are loonies over there. Anyway, appreciate y'all hitting the like button. Thanks for subscribing and sharing this video. We'll see you next time. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below.
I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than $8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The Doge team is working on canceling those payments now. Again, this is a whole of government effort to ensure that we are going line by line when it comes to the federal government's books. And this president and his team are making decisions across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money? If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad, and American taxpayers will see significant savings because of that effort.
White House Press Secretary Leavitt confirms millions of taxpayer dollars were used to pay mainstream liberal media. Doge cancels millions of dollars that were set to be sent to the World Health Organization. California Governor Gavin Newsom fumbles his interview with CNN, and Joe Rogan exposes former Vice President Kamala Harris for lying during the presidential race. Guys, we have a lot to talk about today, but let's go ahead and start off with USAID and their use of our taxpayer dollars. Real quick, guys, appreciate y'all being here. Thanks for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel and sharing this video. You guys provide the most amazing support, and I really love our community. I appreciate you guys. So Politico's now fighting off a wave of criticism that has just now come their way. This is because it's alleged that they took in millions of dollars from the federal government. Now, this is really not a new concept if you think about it. The consensus that news outlets receive money to report favorably for any particular political party, it's not uncommon. Although for the White House to actually confirm it, this is a whole nother thing. Their CEO, I can't even pronounce the last name, editor-in-chief John F. Harris were quick to make a note for their readers. So here's what they had to say about the millions of dollars that they received. Politico is a privately owned company. We have never received any government funding. No subsidies, no grants, no handouts, not a dime ever in 18 years. Millions of people around the world read our journalism on Politico.com, Politico.eu, and in newsletters. It's supported by advertising and sponsorships. Politico Pro is different. It is professional subscription service used by companies, organizations, and yes, some government agencies. They subscribe because it makes them better at their jobs, helping them track policy, legislation, and regulations in real time with news, intelligence, and a suite of data products. At its core, Politico Pro is about transparency and accountability, shining a light on the work of the agencies, regulators, and policymakers throughout our vast federal government. Businesses and entities within the government find it useful as they navigate the chaotic regulatory and legislative landscape. It's that simple. So that's what they wrote. That's what Politico wrote, guys. So they're trying to defend this money by basically saying the government agencies that subscribe to Politico Pro did so through some sort of standard public procurement process. I don't know if I believe that. Do y'all believe that? Which kind of means that they're not denying getting paid by the government, but that this was a transaction rather than just free money. Okay, arguing that they don't have a financial dependence on the government. Well, I guess they're going to have to prove that the hard way because it's expected that these subscriptions will be cut off by Doge. Besides Politico, it's been revealed that payments were also sent to the World Health Organization. Now, you guys remember that President Trump recently withdrew the United States out of the WHO, right?
And OMB have actually found that there was 36 $57 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. Doge and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza. That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money.
The Trump administration is doing what the American people voted for. Comment down below if you guys are happy about this. Like, I've never seen a new administration just come in and clean house, number one. And number two, definitely not at this breakneck pace, right? So moving on, California Governor Gavin Newsom has now changed his tune when it comes to President Trump. In fact, you guys remember that he was on a podcast earlier this year criticizing the president, right? Saying that he was politicizing the tragedy that's hit his state of California. Well, here's what he had to say to CNN when asked about their most recent talks.
So you spoke to President Trump for more than an hour. Yeah. Tell us about that meeting. How did it go?
He was very gracious to accept the meeting in very short order. We extended an open hand. I've said this often, not a closed fist, and reestablished a partnership and relationship to this fire, to the emergency that's still at hand as it relates to toxic materials that need to be cleaned up, to debris removal, to people, thousands and thousands of families whose lives have been torn asunder. And so it was incredibly productive.
Did you get any commitments from him for aid?
Broad strokes, not specific commitments, but broad strokes. And I have just all the confidence in the world that it's going to be a strong partnership moving forward.
Newsom was also asked about the demands of President Trump when it comes to federal aid. A lot of people think that it's common sense to yield, given that it would protect our elections.
As you know, that President Trump has pressed for California requiring voter ID and changing to the water system. Did that come up with your meeting with him?
We talked about both, yeah.
You talked about both? And did you say you would?
We've been in an ongoing conversation for I feel like I told the president when he was on the tarmac last week in Los Angeles, I said, we're picking up on the last conversation we had around water 4.5 years prior. So I will say this, he's very focused on that issue. He certainly targeted some of that in terms of some of the actions he took by executive order.
2 billion gallons of water.
And so we had and that's why it was an extended conversation. I didn't even know people knew how long the conversation was, but it was an extended conversation. And so it was spirited. And look, and it's exactly.
Spirited how so? Bring us into that.
Because we were just, it was an engaging conversation. You know what it was? It was a two-way conversation. And that's what it should be. I mean, just different points of view, expressing a different understanding of the nuances on the ground, but an appreciation to get something done.
In words other than political garbage, Newsom and the president got nowhere when it comes to voter ID. You got to ask a very simple question when it does come to this policy, though, right? Why is the governor, Gavin Newsom in this case, so intent on allowing people to vote in the state of California without an ID? Any ideas for that? Because if you read in between the lines, that almost means that Gavin Newsom is in favor of election fraud, would it not? Now, former Vice President Kamala Harris has moved away from the limelight. This is a move that many people consider to be probably just temporary. And since she hasn't confirmed any plans for 2028, it's expected that she's probably going to run again. But here's the problem, guys. It's only 2025, and more of her team's lies are already coming out.